Greetings YouTube, Captain Machine here, back for another video. I'm probably late to the party, like I always am with these things, but it's RPGaDay month, and day one topic is Patreon. Not Patreon, Patron, sorry. You get my English right, my vocabulary. Either way, I imagine the vast majority of people are going to use this topic to talk about warlocks and such, and to be fair, I am too. I could have a conversation with regards to having a patron for your party, in the fact is like they're a benefactor that like funds you or gives you missions and such, and that's pretty good structure building right there for a campaign. Oh, Gabriel's with me, by the way. But I am going to talk about warlocks because I feel I've got a fresh take, or at least one I haven't heard very often. And that is that Baldur's Gate 3 ruined warlocks. Not in like the mechanical way, like say monks got ruined and such and so forth, and some of the other classes in the older version of D&D 5th edition got ruined by Baldur's Gate. This is more to do with the fact is that Wirral, I think it's Wirral, isn't it? I think it's pronounced, no, it's pronounced Will. I think it's pronounced Will. Will's plot, and this is, I suppose, spoiler warnings for anyone that's not played Baldur's Gate 3, but Will's plot basically revolves around a very unreasonable, oh, Gabriel's going to climb a tree. In he goes, there's like a little bush there, and he climbs that tree. Up he goes, yeah. It's not actually, it's not unreasonable, but it's they have a more intimate relationship with their patron than I would expect most warlocks to have. And I've seen players expect that of a GM after playing Baldur's Gate 3, where they expect to have like this one-to-one tete-a-tete with their patron on a semi-regular basis. And I feel that's, first of all, quite unreasonable for the GM, because they've got a plotline in mind, and unless you've somehow managed to tie your patron to like the big bad at the end of the campaign or the major theme of the campaign, inserting your little personal plotline into the campaign can be difficult. Not impossible, but it can be difficult. And for first time or early GMs, that can be near on impossible without derailing something. But I also remember back what it was when they first came out and the concept of patrons were introduced, and there was just this nebulous thing in the background. And to be fair, I think I preferred it that way, because it used to be that basically patrons were treated like gods, in much the same way that a cleric has a deity that they follow, but the deity would rarely, if ever, get involved with what the cleric was actually doing. No one would expect divine intervention on a semi-regular basis. You know, if you've got a cleric of Helm, for example, you don't expect Helm to be on the hotline answering your calls every 5 minutes, or pestering you about that goblin tribe that you haven't wiped out yet. So I kind of liked it that way, but I do feel that the idea that patron or having a patron as a warlock shouldn't be a all positive experience. That it's basically selling yourself the power. Do I expect Cthulhu or whatever patron I've decided to tie myself to make my life a living hell? Not really. It basically ruins the character if you go that far into it. So what I would suggest, because this is all about positivity, this. Gabriel, I'm talking. It's all about positivity. So what I'm going to suggest is a solution, a middle ground, as it were. I feel that when, come on Gabriel, come on, keep walking, good lad. That when you take a warlock and you take a patron, you should have a pact, like an instruction that you follow. Going back to the example of Will, his instruction is he has to basically defeat the heartless demons that come up from hell. So as some kind of containment thing, or hunt them down. So there is expectation that if he comes across a demon or something like that, he will deal with it. And if he doesn't, then he's broken his pact. And that's the point where the GM has license to get a bit more creative with regards to punishment, whether it be withdrawing powers, imposing additional conditions, or maybe the patron thinks you're handy right now, doesn't want to take all that away from you, but says, okay, you broke that pact, we're going to give you a new one, something that's more agreeable. And basically you go at that point, get attacked by trees here. At that point you go down the Darth Vader route of I have altered the deal, pray I don't alter it any further. And you just make it progressively worse. But in short, when, like, for example, my character in D&D, we're playing intermittently, is a Warlock who has a pact with the Archfey. And the Archfey, basically the Archfey's not really fleshed out in the campaign. He's never come up in the conversation with the GM. So basically I've got a micro backstory explaining that my character is basically a changeling, not in the traditional, not in the D&D sense, where it's like a shape-shifting race, but no, it's a young child that was abducted by the Fae and replaced with a Fae, going back to old folklore here. And basically he grew up in the Feywilds by effectively what is a very abusive Fae culture, because they don't give a toss about humans. So in order to escape, he made a pact with the Archfey, who I call the Ever Queen, and the pact is basically that he's going to basically sire as many illegitimate children as possible to basically create more people that can be abducted and go through that changeling process. Oh my god, look at this place. Give it a go. Give it a run down. Go on. Is he gonna run down it? You run down it? No? Alright. Camera anxiety, I suppose. But yeah. So up until the point where I stopped doing that, I don't expect that the GM would make an issue with that. But at the same time, if the GM wants to poke that nerve, he might introduce a character or a situation where I can't or shouldn't do that, and then he gets to lean into it. So the option's there if he wants to take it. It always has been. But it's not an expectation. And if it's that little plot thread is never pulled, then basically I've got a character with effectively a quirk or a flaw, using other vernacular for other games. So yeah, don't expect your patron to be on the speed dial. At the same time, don't expect that your patron's going to let your life a living hell. Find a middle ground, have a little pact, a little instruction that you have to follow on a regular basis, and if you don't follow it, that's when things happen. And I think that fixes the class, personally. Okay guys, on to day 2. Probably going to be the same close, because I'm trying to pack these in so I can get them catch up, as it were. Bye guys. Look at that spot. Way!